For this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to launch Macromedia Fireworks, and previously you've been working with bitmaps. You worked on the girl pumpkin and you did some selecting and modifying that. You then worked with the butterfly and did some selecting on that. For this next one, what we're going to do is we're going to make a interesting logo for the Compass website. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to display a ruler, and the ruler is going to help me to make things and put things in an even location. So to do that, I go in the view menu and I select ruler, and I want to show the grid. And if the grid isn't the right location, I go to view and grid. I want to edit the grid, and I want to tell it to be a 24 by 24 pixel grid, and I can even make the color something like red. So I've got little red graph paper. The next thing I want to do is I want to draw some lines. So I'm going to take the vector object and I'm going to draw it, and I'm going to make it and draw a line so it is like so. So here's a line. So the vector tools are the tools here, and we're going to use the vector tools for this next drawing. The line color, I want to make it to be black, so I'm going to select black as the color, and there is a line on my piece of paper. Okay, the next thing I want to do with this is to give me an interesting shape. I'm going to use the Ellipse Tool, and I can tell it under grid to snap to the grid. And what that's going to do is when I draw a shape like a line or a circle, it's going to put it exactly at the edge of the grid. So if I draw a circle, it's going to be perfectly in the right spot. I don't have to worry about nudging it to the left or to the right. It's going to snap to this grid that I have on. And so here's a circle I just drew that I'm going to use. Okay, the next step that I want to do, now that I've got a circle for my compass, is I want to draw these compass lines going all around it. And so I already drew a line, so here's one of the lines I drew. And what I want to do is I want to rotate the line. So watch this cool little trick. What I can do is I can go to edit, and I want to clone that line. And with the clone line still selected, I'm going to go to modify, transform, and I want to do a numeric transformation, and I want to do a rotation and rotate it exactly 45 degrees. And I press OK, and there's a line that's 45 degrees rotated. Now it took me a few steps to do that. Watch this cool little trick that can duplicate those steps. If I click on the history panel, and you'll see the history panel, and you'll see I've got clone and transform, and if I select replay, it's going to put more of those lines on and make perfectly rotated lines for my object. I'm going to undo the grid now. So I'm going to go to grid, and I'm going to tell it to not show the grid. And I'm going to zoom in to 100% so we really can see my drawing here, and you'll see the different things. And what I want to do this time is I want to cut each of these lines. I don't need so many of them. So I'm going to use this tool here. So I'm going to select the line. I select this tool here called the knife tool. And I'm just going to, actually before I do that, I'm going to put another, before I do that, I'm going to show the grid again. I'm going to put a smaller inside circle. That's going to go, oops, too small. There we go. I'm going to put a smaller inside circle, okay, that's going to snap exactly in the grid. Now I don't need the grid anymore, so I'm going to go to View and Grid, and I'm going to turn the grid off. And now I'm going to use this knife tool, and I'm going to select this vector here, this line that I drew, and I don't need it to be inside the inner circle, so I don't want to see that inner circle. So I'm going to use the knife tool, and I'm going to knife right at the edge of the circle and at the other edge of the circle, and then I can use the sub-selection tool, and watch what happens if I click on the white sub-selection. I can click on this part and click on this part, and this part is selected. You'll see the blue dots, and I can press delete, and the circle is gone. I can do the same thing with the next one. I'll select that circle. I'll show you again. I use the knife tool, and I don't want the line there, and I don't want the line there. And now I can use the sub-select. Oops, I didn't knife it enough. Sorry. I can use the sub-selection tool. Oh, Control Z. I didn't want it there. I wanted it right where they intersect, so I want it right there. I use the sub-selection tool. I can select just the part of the line, and I press delete. Two more, and let me zoom in 200% so you can really see what I'm doing here. So I select the line, I select the knife, I select where they intersect. I select where they intersect down here. I use the sub-selection, and I click on that one, then I click on that, and I can press delete. I do that one finally, and I can select here, I can select here, and sub-selection, and I can select just that line and hit delete. Okay, I've almost made a nice looking compass now. Last thing I really need to do is filling it with color. So I'm going to select some different colors. I'll go to this, use the selection tool. I select the outer circle, and I'm going to tell the fill of that one to be this color here, which is the gold. I'm going to select the inner circle, and the inner circle I don't want any line color, but I want the fill color to be a burgundy. And then finally I'm going to put a white star on top. So how do I make a white star? Well, the white star is actually a 5-pointed object. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the polygon tool, and I select polygon. In the shape properties, I'm going to select star, and I'm going to select one with 4 sides, and I'm going to select a color of white, and then I'm going to put the white star right in the middle of my compass. And now I've got a lovely looking compass. When I zoom out here, there's a nice lovely looking compass. You'll notice some of these were behind, and so I actually should have done these after. And so what I want to do is I want to arrange, and I want to bring to the front these lines. So I would do that as well. I must have goofed somewhere there, but I'll bring that to the front. So here you can see just about here, a couple more. Arrange, bring to front, arrange, bring to front. And I'm going to have you now make this compass just like in Chapter 2 of the Fireworks book. And you're going to make a lovely compass like so.